We're live. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the Invincible Health Series with Dr. Vin. I'm Krista Gervon, the Communications Director at Princeton Integrative Health, and I'm here with Dr. Vinny. And we're talking brain health again this week. This time, we're going to be talking how brain health relates, or how nutritional deficiencies affect our brain and what we can do about it. So, Dr. Vinny, what types of nutritional deficiencies affect our brain, and what can we do about it?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that question, Krista. So it could, there are all sorts of nutritional deficiencies that we have. Sometimes we don't even think of them as deficiencies. We feel like if, we're getting enough calories, that's great. But if we don't get the right amount of nutrients, over the long term, it can be harmful for our brains. Our brains need things like healthy fats, omega-3 fats from fish, and it needs that. Our brains are mostly a fatty organ. And, I never really thought of it that way, but really they're built mostly on fat, and nerve membranes have a lot of fat in their sheaths. So, you have to make sure you get the right amount of fat to help keep your brain healthy, to keep your nerves healthy. Omega-3 fats are great from fish. And if you feel like you don't want to eat fish, then you can you can just take a supplement for that. And some people who are vegetarian, perhaps flax oil would be the way to go for them. They get some of the same omega-3s. Other deficiencies in things like vitamin D is something that people need to make sure they have enough of. The weather is getting nicer. There's some sun out there today, but mostly I don't think people are sunbathing today. It was a little chilly. So Northeast vitamin D deficiency is pretty much epidemic, especially during the winter months. So, we recommend people get vitamin D. And then other things, a lot of the phytonutrients, plant phytonutrients actually change our brain chemistry. So we have to make sure that we're getting the colors of the rainbow and that kind of thing.
So when we are deficient in those nutrients or even the fats that you mentioned, what will happen in our brain over time?
Well, what can happen in our brain over time is that the nerves don't work as well. And for some people, it gets to a point where the brain cells actually start dying. Mm. So we think it's healthier to avoid that.
Absolutely, I would say.
So, there are tests that people can do. They could do micronutrient testing. I think the best overall thing is to eat a healthy, well-balanced diet. But I think often as we age, people start to lose their appetite. Sometimes people settle into this routine of getting the same things, eating the same things. And I think people have to be on guard for that.
Absolutely, yes. And will those nutrient deficiencies also end up leading to things like cognitive decline and Alzheimer's and things like that too?
Well, they can certainly contribute.
Okay.
If somebody has cognitive decline, we'd certainly take a hard look at their diet. It's important, as I said, to get the good fats and that kind of thing. It's also important to make sure that we're keeping our sugar, we're talking about nutritional deficiencies, but again, we need to keep our sugars, our sweets, our carbs down because they are calorie rich but nutrient poor. So if people are eating a lot of that, they're much more likely to have nutrient deficiencies. Yeah. A lot of those plant nutrients. And again, good fats are much more vital for the brain than any carbohydrate that I can actually think of. So.
No, definitely. Are there any other specific foods that you can get some of these from, like especially vitamin D that you mentioned, where we're deficient in it almost all the time, especially in the Northeast because we're not out in the sun all the time? Are there foods we can get it from?
There really aren't a lot of foods that give you a great source of vitamin D. We have to either make it on our own getting out in the sunlight and generating our own vitamin D, become little vitamin D generators, if you will. Um, Either you have to do that or you have to get it via supplements, obviously milk, and now the alternative milks are supplemented with vitamin D. But when we check people all the time, and even people who are having dairy or dairy alternatives, usually low in vitamin D, maybe in the 20s. Some people get into the 30s if they're getting a lot of sun. We think that there are benefits of having your vitamin D level up to around 50 or above, 50, between 50 and 80. And, since we're in the time of coronavirus, again, I've mentioned this before, if you have a vitamin D level of 50 or above when you go, if you happen to get coronavirus, having a vitamin D level will make you somewhat resistant to getting coronavirus. But if you do get in, your vitamin D level is 50 or above, it's much less likely that you're going to get severe coronavirus, or that, you need to be on a ventilator or die. So we recommend, especially during this time of coronavirus, to make sure you're getting adequate vitamin D and have somebody check your levels. Not all doctors will check your levels. I hear from people that, they're like, yeah, that's just for your bones. And yeah, just don't worry about it.
Well, we do check it. If you
We do check levels.
um,
Yes.
So are there any red flags that people should look for if they may not know that they're nutrient deficient in anything in particular? So are there any red flags that people can look out for?
Certainly if there's any sort of cognitive decline, if people are starting to wonder, hey, is that just aging, or am I having memory issues? That's, that'd be a red flag to talk to somebody. Again, I would advocate that it be somebody in the integrative or functional medicine space, because there really isn't much thought about nutrition in the conventional space, and especially if you're just talking about memory. There's there's that. If anybody with heart disease should check on their nutrition. If you are feeling frail or weak or fatigued, it should be, you should have somebody check what's going on with your nutrition. And we talk about nutritional deficiencies. There are other deficiencies in things like hormones that can lead to problems with brain function. So not only looking at the nutrients we take in, but the deficiencies in things like hormones, especially thyroid hormone, and that kind of thing. And for some people, especially people who might be suffering an earlier cognitive decline, could look at things like the sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, that kind of thing. So all of those things are things that can be checked when people are having cognitive decline. Yeah,
So,
iron, making sure you're not anemic, all of that.
Yeah, so I think if anyone is having any signs of cognitive decline, these types of tests will really give us a much better outlook into what's really happening, and then we can treat from there, from the root cause.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. But yeah, nutrition is, as I've said many times now, is at the base of what we do. It's the foundation of what we do. So nutritional deficiencies, certainly can play a big part. If somebody actually has cognitive decline, they will usually be on a fairly intensive supplement regimen to try to make sure they're getting enough of everything that they need to help stabilize that and maybe reverse it. So,
Great. Well, Colleen, I know you're on our Zoom with us. If you have any questions, please feel free to either type them in the chat or you can unmute yourself. I'm going to just check out on Facebook to see if we have any questions. I will say we're off next week. Dr. Vinny will be away, so we will not be here, but we will be back the following week discussing something I think everyone will be interested in, the long-term effects of COVID, basically, correct?
Yep, long haul COVID is the terminology coming out now.
Long haul COVID, okay.
Yes, I'll be in the Magic Kingdom with my daughter and son-in-law and two grandchildren. So
The happiest.
creating some fun and magic.
Yes, that'll be so much fun. I'm a little jealous. I do love Disney World. We have some people watching, but no questions as of now. So yeah, we hope to see you in 2 weeks. I will be here next week with our acupuncturist, Joe Bonacci, to talk about stress and how acupuncture can help with that. So we hope to see you there. That's at noon on Wednesday, April 28th. And otherwise, that's it. That's all we
Okay.
got now.
All right.
Thank you,
Yes,
everyone.
hope to see people there when we talk about long haul COVID and what we can do about that. So,
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Vinny. Have a great vacation, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
okay. Thank you, Krista.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Colleen.
Bye, Colleen.